Welcome back to Roll for Puppet, the series where we let these dice design our next creature. And today we have just an emotional roller coaster ahead of us, so enjoy. This is going to be episode 17 of season 4. And as always, let's get started by, first of all, rolling for our head shape with a d20. And as we know, the dice always like to throw us for a little bit of a loop. So we have a 12, which is going to be for the Wilson head shape, which is exactly the same head shape as last week. And I always take that as a personal challenge. So moving on to our personality for today with our chaos dice, and we have rolled a human. So very different than last week when we had our retro theme. But I just feel kind of personally attacked by the dice right now. I feel like they are testing us. I feel like they're kind of like, well, we saw how you did last week with the Wilson head shape, and now we're going to throw a curveball and make you do the same head shape again, but try and make you do it so completely differently. Am I reading too much into things? Do the dice even care? We will find out. So we're going to get started by cutting out all of our reticulated foam pattern on the bandsaw for the Wilson head shape. All hail the bandsaw. And I hope if you're watching this video you are also hailing the bandsaw, because we need to keep it going together. We all remember the 2 years of fighting with the previous bandsaw. And then of course we're going to glue it all together with our contact adhesive for our delicious yet forbidden honey sandwich. And then wait for all of that delicious but forbidden honey to dry so we can press it all together to form the shape. There's a lot of different parts with this head shape, as we mentioned last week. And I think this is definitely a head shape that will lend itself to a human puppet really well. And then once it's all pressed together, of course, we're going to move on to our mouth plate. We have our S for sexy, which gets glued together with the forbidden ice cream sandwiches and the black fleece, and then it gets glued into the puppet's head. And we're going to be ready for our finished Wilson reveal. At this point, if you're watching the show, you don't even need the reveal. You know what the Wilson head shape looks like. It's clearly a favourite of the dice gods, but today's going to be very, very different than last week. Here we have them so far, and of course, you just wait. We're going to be ready for our colourful choices. First of all, we need to roll for the amount of colours with a d4, and we have 3, and those 3 colours are going to be, well, we have 1 and 2 8s, so that's not going to work. We're going to have to re-roll one of those 8s because the dice did say 3 different colours. We have 9, and that is going to be for red, pink, and purple. So for the main body of the puppet with the human skin, we definitely wanted to go with this kind of like peachy, salmony coloured fleece. It's not quite pulling right on camera. It is a lot more warm and peachy in person, whereas on camera it looks almost like a little bit pale. Like a very pastel-y pink, but it is not that. Rest assured, it is a peachy... Why did I say assured so weird then? It was like assured, like a pirate. But once all of that peachy pink fabric is cut out, of course we're going to sew it up on the sewing machine. The sewing machine. We're going to have that for the entire body of the puppet, the arms, the hands, and the head as well, and then we're going to bring in the 2 other colours later on in the features, and you just wait, we're going to have a whale of a time with the features. So once everything is cut out, we're going to sew it all up on the sewing machine, turn it inside out. You know the drill by now. And I thought at some point it would be quite interesting to go through the designing process for one of these puppets, because once we have all of the information from the rolls, I actually design these kind of like, I have these blanks of each of the different puppet shapes, and I basically roughly draw out what I want the character to be once we've rolled for the personality roll, and it might be interesting. Some of you might want to know how that process goes, so just let me know if you do, because it's probably quite an unconventional design process. Of course, it's all controlled by the dice, so I have no choice over any of the decisions, and it's hard to bring that character to life correctly. And a lot of people have also mentioned the possibility of doing a roll for puppet sort of live somewhere at a convention where you could get insight into all of the different processes that go into designing one of these. Because as you can imagine, it is quite the challenge. But anyway, once everything is sewn up, glued in place, we're going to doll joint the arms onto the puppet's body, and of course we're going to have our somewhat colourful reveal. Just the peachy base of the puppet at the moment, because the rest of the colours are going to be coming out later in the features. And just look at this happy, smiling, chubby-cheeked human. Now we need to roll for our eyes, of course, and we have a 4, which is going to be for painted eyes. Now, we're going to go for a very toned down soft lilac purple for the painted eyes. Sometimes when we go with darker eyes, that can work really well for a creature or a monster or an animal, something a little bit darker. But with today's human, I definitely wanted to go with a softer, sweeter character. So the lighter the purple, the better. Once those are dry, we're going to glue in some indigo purple irises. And then I'm going to find the right positioning for those eyes on the puppet's head. Really nice and simple and cartoony, a nice simple expression for this human. So I'm just going to mark out where the best positioning for the eyes are, and I'm going to add in our kind of bolt and washer system. With these bolt and washers, it means that the eyes can be completely removable at any time. So once you attach the eyes, if it's not quite in the right position, they can be moved. Now, moving on to our features, we have double 6, 13 and 16, and that is going to be for double lashes, eye bags, and a mini me. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. For some reason, all of these put together made me think of a sweet, beautiful little old lady with her purple hair. And the mini-me is just absolutely one of my favourite things we have ever done. It breaks my heart, but it also inspires me, and I just love it. Throughout this day, I developed an emotional attachment to this puppet that I perhaps have never felt before. And I cannot explain it, I really don't understand, but you will see more as it goes on. So we have this really beautiful lilac light purple wig, and it's so spiky and fluffy and beautiful. Now, for the double lashes and the eye bags, of course we need to mark out where all of that fleece is going to go. So we're going to have top lids for a pair of eyelashes, and then heavy bottom lids as the eye bags to hold the second type of eyelashes. So there's going to be a lot going on for the eyes of this puppet. And we wanted it in this kind of mix between pinky and purple fleece that you'll see in a minute. Then we have a bright red fleecy puppet tongue, because every puppet needs a tongue. We're going to sew that up, add in some definition and glue it into the puppet's face. And then moving on to the pinky purple fleece for the eye bags. So we cut out some little strips of the fleece and we're going to glue them back on themselves so they look like little rolls. They have like a fold where the skin is kind of, well, I suppose it's an eye bag, so you get the point. But we wanted it in this nice purple light fleece. We didn't want them to look too heavy or too scary or too negative in any way. I really wanted to make sure that this portrayal had a lot of positivity with it. We just broke a pencil. So we're going to get started with the eyelashes. So we have double eyelashes, and we wanted those to be two different kinds. So we have a nice bold deep strip of foam eyelashes on the top lid, and then we wanted a fluttery, softer, thinner pair of eyelashes for the bottom lid with the eye bags. And this was giving me such vibes of like this sweet little old lady who has always taken such pride in her appearance and always really taken care of herself and loved herself. And it was just such a positive character coming together for me. I just loved her as I was making her. Everything is matching and everything is really well put together, and I just felt like she was a really positive, wonderful lady. Now, as a fun extra and a prop, we actually have this tiny mini-sized set of curlers that we added onto the puppet's head, and then we were going to add strips of that lilac fur, again wrapped around it as though she has her set of rollers in, she's about to go to sleep, someone just burnt themselves. And again, this whole thing was just becoming so endearing to me, and I feel like this is the sweetest lady you will ever meet. So once all of that is in place, moving on to the red, we wanted to give her this nice, fluffy, demure cardigan. And it's in this really nice, bold, bright red colour. And we're going to add some jewellery. Now, as a mini-me, I don't know where this idea came from, but I thought it'd be beautiful if she had this framed, signed photograph of herself when she was younger, almost like she was this famous actress or someone just really celebrated, and she has it signed, but she doesn't carry it as like a memory of when she was young and beautiful. She carries it because she's so proud of herself. I don't know why I was getting so emotional making this character, but I definitely think it's one of the most fun mini-me / props that we've ever done. I didn't want to just do like a gerbil or a pet or something like that. I wanted it to be something more personal to her, and she signed it with her name, which is apparently Agnes. And I put it in this little white frame, and I just love this so much. As you can tell, I got very emotionally attached to Agnes and her little prop. I'm just adding a little bit of shading and definition and shadow around the eye bags, around the tongue, anywhere that needed a little bit of extra definition. And then we added this really nice pearl necklace. Because again, I feel like she is someone that really cares about her appearance. This is just me holding her hand because I love her. I think she is one of my favourite characters that I have ever created, and I don't just mean on the show, I mean in puppetry in general. She's just so sweet, and her character just brings me a lot of joy. This voiceover is getting way too cringy and personal. Here is the finished Roll for Puppet episode 17. Definitely not anything I have created before, and so different than last week's character, which was also made from the same head shape. That is just part of the fun of this show. Nothing is ever as you think it's going to be, and nothing is ever straightforward. The dice create some absolutely crazy creations, but today this one was just so sweet for me. So here is Agnes. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed getting to watch her come together. And I will defend her till the end of the earth, so don't be mean about her in the comments, okay? She is my best friend, and there is that. I'm going to have a hard time letting her go if anyone would like to take her home. I have to make her available for adoption to afford to live, but she is so very sweet. I'm very attached to her, and she can stay here for as long as she likes. So thank you again for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you would like new episodes of Roll for Puppet every single Friday. Or if you can't wait for that, they go up early on Wednesdays, early and ad-free, to our Patreon members if you would like to support this content and support me keeping Agnes on forever full-time as help in the workshop. And of course we will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching and going on this emotional roller coaster with me.